Good evening, race fans. It is time to crown ourselves a regular season champion here in the Budweiser All-Pro Series. It is the Coke Zero Sugar 400 live from Daytona Beach, Florida here in Daytona. I am Michael Norman, the voice of the Budweiser All-Pro Series, alongside Seth Cole. And Seth, this is totally not take number 2 because my game crashed.
No, not at all. No, this is the original take.
Absolutely, totally original. First try. Heading into this race, we've got.
Yesterday got rained out.
Yeah, it did. It got rained out before the race even started. No, it rained. It rained right at the start, and everyone crashed. It was like the 2001 Winston all over again.
They brought like their third or fourth backup cars.
Yeah, right. With no damage, they still had to go to a backup car anyways.
Makes sense.
Anyways.
They wrecked so hard they wrecked their primary engine.
Anyways, we are getting set here. 38 drivers ready to take the green flag here. Set there's very much, I guess you can call it drama, because it is drama in a way, intensity here at Daytona. So many storylines heading into this race in terms of the playoff standings.
Yeah, storylines that I think eventually will definitely turn into drama. Obviously, you consider the fact that Daytona itself is a wild card racetrack. A lot of times it comes down to positioning, if you've got teammates around, avoiding the dreaded big one, anything like that. I mean, it's a moving chess game at over 200 miles per hour. And then you factor in, as well as you just mentioned, this is the regular season finale. This is where we're putting together the 16 drivers that will battle for the championship. We've got about 10 drivers, I think, that are already locked in regardless of what happens here tonight. There's about another 3 drivers that if they're able to get some good stage points, they'd be safe. But then on the flip side, we've also got a couple of drivers that are still below that 25th in standings cut line, Ali Rain and William Brock. And you got one driver that comes into this race 25th in points, that being Bobby Frazier. I mean, that is really not a position I would want to be in if you're driver 42. And then, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of other drivers that are still trying to point or win their way in to the, right now, 2 available points positions, which that could be none by the time we get to the checkered flag here. Maybe all race winners this season. So yeah, a lot of moving pieces that'll be taking place here tonight. We'll try and keep it all up to speed with it.
Words.
Adding in the stage points and everything. Yeah, I'm already feeling the numbers circling in my head, and it's making my ability to speak a non-factor now. I'm gonna be speaking like calculus and stuff here in a few minutes, and you're not gonna understand a thing I'm saying.
And the engines are fired here at the Daytona International Speedway. We're going to have 32 laps of racing, which will break down into 3 stages of 10, 10, and 12. And Seth, those stage points are going to be oh so crucial.
They're going to be really important for those drivers that have not yet locked themselves up playoff spots. Like I mentioned, there's a few drivers that, in my opinion, if they're able to pick up some points here in this first stage, they may be able to, as former winners, lock themselves up playoff spots, since they didn't have the around 40-point buffer between themselves and that cut line. Roberta Crown Jr., Benjamin Miles, and Jessica Shelton, they would fit that criteria. So we'll keep an eye on those 3 drivers during the course, especially of this first stage. But for everybody else that has not got a win, that are trying to point their way into the playoffs, I mean, theoretically, Michael, in all honesty, it's looking like Cole Baker, Madeline Crenshaw, and then maybe Charles Buxton are the only drivers I can see right now that look like they have a legit shot of pointing their way in. All the other drivers that haven't won yet, like Matthew Rodriguez, Colin Cropley, Charles Sanford, yeah, they're up inside the top 15 in points, but I think they're just too far back to contend with those other 3 for a points-paying position in the playoffs. I think that everybody else on down, from Matthew Rodriguez, 14th in points on down, they are in must-win situation to advance into the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be very crucial that they get every point they can. And I want to reiterate something we said at the top of the broadcast here, and that is no damage. So these drivers can be involved in an accident and still be race winner contention. I can't speak today. And unless, of course, which happened in a totally alternate reality where we were 5 laps in the Twilight Zone, where you get flipped over and have to teleport to pit lane. But if you have to get a tow, that's probably going to end your race, honestly, right there, because it is very tough to make laps up here, the hard way without being able to give like laps back and things like that. So it's going to be a tough one as these drivers come off of turn number 4. Seth, it's a clear night. It's pretty warm out there. The track's going to be probably a little slick. And it's time to get this race underway. Pace car dives in the restart zone, the Geico restart zone. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway at Daytona.
Talked about the no damage factor. I guarantee you drivers are going to be anxious to make moves here in the early going that they may not normally make if there was damage on, knowing that there is such a short stage 1 to be able to rack up some of those points in an attempt to make their way into the playoffs. So
wow.
Keep an eye on how quickly we might get 3 and maybe 4 wide.
Well, if you look at it, it looks like we're almost getting ready to do it now. These cars are all over the place.
Jumped to the middle. You saw McCurry there to the middle. I mean, those are a couple of former winners. Anthony McCurry, last time we were here at Daytona, the season opening Daytona 500 went to victory lane. Could he do the Daytona double?
It's very possible. Look at these drivers already going 3 wide, trying to take the momentum where they can. Jovan Anderson behind Henry Sanford up there. They're leaving Charles Buxton out to dry. We talked about him earlier in the broadcast. And Cole Baker now leading the inside charge as Stephen Colin's going to lead lap number 1.
Colin coming into this race 22nd in the points, so he is definitely in a must-win situation. There's Cole Baker in the 43. Now look at the inside. Now Baker's not necessarily in a must-win, but depending on if Allie Rain or William Brock have a good run here tonight and Bobby Frazier can stay inside the top 25 in the points, it may end up very quickly translating into a must-win situation for driver 43, but Baker's had a great rookie campaign, been very strong the last couple of weeks, hounding Dylan Pote for that overall points lead.
That's very true. He's about, if I'm not mistaken, about 12 or 13 points back from the regular season championship in a way, because this is the final race here. As they're going 3 wide here. The 31 car got a good run off the corner. Now, Seth, explain that. We all know in racing that typically the bottom lane is the fastest way around the racetrack. So why is it that that top lane gets the momentum that they do?
I'm going to correct you on that. It's the shorter way around the racetrack. But when they get stacked up 3 wide like this, that inside line, the driver in second on that inside line, in third, in fourth, as you go back, gets a really big toe down the straightaway and gets a big run into the corner. That causes checkup. Checkup causes a loss of momentum. The further out you go to the middle and the outside line, the longer you can actually stay in the throttle because it is a longer way around the racetrack. Keeping your foot in the throttle, not having to check up as much, keeps the momentum going down the straightaway.
And look at this. This is shades of the 2001 Daytona 500 here. 3x3 all the way back.
Hoping nobody gets brave enough to try and force the issue 4 wide, because it can work here at Daytona, but especially when you get to that front stretch tri-oval, it narrows up a ton. You come out of that tri-oval, the cars on the inside push up a little bit, and usually that can lead to a big wreck. Again, like I said, no damage, so somebody might be brave to try and force that issue, see if they can work their way up to the front a little bit more, but a lot of moving even up here at the front, while the middle to back of the field are just kind of basically, they're the deciding factors in which line's going to move.
Yeah, and you can see the momentum take it. Daniel Voiles took the lead. Here comes the 12. And as he said before, look at the 4th and 5th cars on the inside road. That's both the Spire Motorsports cars. We didn't talk about it, but teammates could be a big factor in here. And both the 7 and the 77 could potentially lock both the whole Spire Motorsports team into the playoffs here. And I'm pretty sure that Christina Bell would be looking to help out the 7 in any way she can, since Christina is one of the ones that are locked into the playoffs.
I think that's an excellent point there. I think you're going to see that scenario play out for a number of different teams. I think that maybe you'll see Anthony McCurry, who's already locked in. He may search around and try and find Cole Deaver, see if he can help him advance into the playoffs. A lot of other former winners. Seth Cole will probably be trying to, Cody Lamas, they'll be trying to look for their Hendrick Motorsports teammates. And I don't think Kyle Matthews, there's no way he can make it in. But, Jovan Anderson, he's yet to win this season, and he's got a shot of winning his way into the playoffs. So that's a good point. Drivers that are already locked in may be trying to find their teammates to try and push them to a victory, increase the numbers of that team, maybe getting the championship by the end of the season.
Oh gosh, this racing is breathtaking right now. I am nervous, and I'm not even out on the racetrack for these drivers as Trey Wright now battles for the lead.
imagine what it's going to be like trying to figure out who's getting the last couple of stage points here if they keep this up to the conclusion of lap 10. It may end up being inches between 8th, 9th, and 10th, and those stage points, those minute stage points could be very important by the end of the evening.
Look, and here comes Madeline Crenshaw with the help of the 77, her teammate, trying to get up there, and you see how she stays to the inside, right with the nose of her teammate right there. Coming to the line, leading the lap, I think was the 7, but that was damn close.
See what scoring says. Yep, 6-1000.
Nope.
No, not even. Wow, we don't even know what it was.
Let's look here at the standings. We can do that. 3 1,000ths of a second.
I mean, our in-game ticker couldn't even count it. It was so close.
Imagine if that was for the win.
That had been for the win, then you would have had Crenshaw locked in via a victory. Ooh,
now look at the side draft. Look at the side draft. She's trying to use the side draft to her advantage. Oh my lord, that's really close. Oh.
Boy, okay. Write this down. Lap 7, Christina Bell just made the move of the race because that could have been the big one there. She backed out, let her teammate back in that middle line. That was nearly 4 wide. With Crenshaw moving up to get that side draft, opened the door for Bell to look to the inside, and then Poteet almost forced the issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's going to push Roberto Crown Jr. back to the lead because the 7 doesn't really have the help right now. At least she does now because here comes Poteet. You got Poteet, Cropley, and Frazier, who we talked about on the 25th in points cut line right there as we got 3 laps left in the stage.
Things really turned around for Dylan Poteet after he had that victory at Sonoma. All of a sudden, it seemed like this 6 car was consistently finishing up inside of the top 10 week after week after week. He's now the points leader coming into this race. I mean, what a coup it would be for Dylan Poteet if he were able to maybe pick up a second win here tonight. That would put him, along with Cody Lamas and Jonathan Zorla, as a multi-time winner. Get the regular
look
season
at the middle lane.
I mean, that'd be a stranglehold on the #1 seed for the playoffs.
Yeah, it would be. As it was, again, another really tied finish. Let's see what it... Oh, 1/1000th of a second that time by. That's 2 laps to go. And oh, my gosh. Seth, I don't know if I can handle this for 32 laps.
Look who's there third on that inside line. The driver that maybe comes into this race with the most pressure, Bobby Frazier, 25th in points. Yes, he's got a victory, but he's got to keep himself above himself, the cut line. 25th in the standings area. And right now, at least up inside of the top 10, would love to get a couple of stage points here, alleviate some of that pressure.
How frustrating does it get for a driver like Jose Mills or even Trey Wright, who's stuck in the middle lane really with nowhere to go?
It's frustrating for sure because you're basically relying on your spotter to tell you, is that line moving? If it's not, try and find a space on the top or on the bottom if that's where the momentum is, but you're just boxed in. Right now, you're the deciding factor into which line is moving, and there's nothing else you can do. You're basically just keeping your eyes wide open in case something happens up ahead that you think might lead to a wreck, so that way you have an exit plan.
Man, look at the run the outside lane gets. These cars are not giving up. It's 3 by 3. It's almost looking like the start of the Indianapolis 500.
That's where one slight mistake can have catastrophic results. Not necessarily in ending somebody's race since we don't have damage, but in losing someone a ton of track position as, I don't like how...
Oh, no, and that's going to go 4 wide.
Cody Lamas going to stick his nose in there. Oh, he gets forced down on the apron. Oh, let him back up.
Oh, it's not going to... Oh, they down. Oh. And that's going to be the entire field.
There's nowhere to go. You're 3 wide. Where do you go? There's an apron. There's an outside wall. Oh, James Moore. Ooh.
Yeah, but he might get caught on the banking there, and I think he might be.
Cars that are stuck. Allie Rain in the 14 is stuck on the apron. Fitzwater, Deaver,
So is the 20. Yep, Henry Sanford is stuck on the apron as well.
Moore.
I don't even know how you could have got around that at that point.
You couldn't. And you can't get on the brakes either because you got, like, what, 12 cars lined up behind you in each lane?
It's got to be
they're going to hit the brakes.
And it's got to be Cropley that leads them back to the... Oh, I just realized that was the end of the stage.
That explains why they were 4 wide. Okay.
Yeah, it does. That's what happens when you don't pay attention. So,
Drivers knew. We didn't.
Yep. So we're going to take this opportunity. We're going to go back as you already see the results, or have seen the results as post-race editing. I would have put them in already, even though we were too busy talking and watching stuff. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Be right back with more action here at Daytona. And welcome back here to the Daytona International Speedway. As Seth, we're going to have kind of a little short sprint to the end of stage number 2, as we are already going to get a restart with 5 laps left in the stage. And as we talked about earlier, we have 6 cars a lap down or more, and they're going to be lined up on the inside.
Yeah, the thing that kind of stood out to me is we didn't have anybody come to pit road of our race leaders here when they took the cautions. So that says to me that either they know they can't make it the full distance, 32 laps on what they started this race with, or they're going to have to pit. They would have had to still pit if they had come to pit road this time. So that'll be interesting. But one driver we got to highlight that's on that inside line got trapped a lap down. Actually, I think 2 laps down, after getting stuck on the pit lane. Actually, it's 1 lap down, I'm sorry, for the 14 of Allie Rain. Had to finish ahead of drivers like Trent Dunham, Cole Deaver, Bobby Frazier to be able to make her way up into the top 25 in the point stands. Unless we have something happen here in these final, 18 laps or so, boy, it's really looking like she may not be advancing into the playoffs despite having that win earlier on this season.
Man, it's going to be a tough. Green flag's back out. Colin Cropley leads him down. And you see everybody from the 7 car on back went down to the very inside lane.
But it's smart, right? Because with no damage, you know that all these cars that are trapped on the inside line 1 or 2 laps down, that they're up to speed. So they're going to be able to battle with the race leaders. So why not take the shorter way around the racetrack on the restart?
Penning down, these cars going to try to stick together here. The 4 car going to go underneath the 17. That's going to put it 3 wide again. Cole Deaver and the rest of them just all lap down on the inside there.
But it's a battle within the battle, right? The 4, the 17, the 3, the 22, all these drivers, they're battling for position right now, all on the same lap with the exception of 2 of them. So while you've got a battle up here at the front for the race lead, you've also got a battle for, about 34th, 35th position.
Poti going to dive underneath Colin Cropley, try to take the momentum with them down the inside lane. We'll see if it'll be enough. Poti's got a Ford coming right behind him in Henry Sanford.
I don't know what it is. We talked about Allie Rain and her problems here. The other driver that we were going to keep an eye on tonight that was trying to make it in the top 25 in points, William Brock. I noticed that he's at the very tail end and might be in danger of losing the pack.
Yep, he's reaching about 191 miles per hour by himself.
They get double wide ahead of him, he might be able to catch, but normally you got to have somebody pushing you for that scenario to work. And look at this. Now we're right back to where we started. 3 wide, several rows deep.
Yep, and that's going to be good for people like William Brock. I think he might just be hanging out in the back.
Could be. You might be right.
Poti going to lead this lap now. Couple laps to go. Here comes Madeline Crenshaw again in the 7, right behind Allie Rain. She's using the inside to her advantage, and she's going to try to push Allie ahead of the 6 car.
Also been kind of working the calculators here. I believe if he finishes inside the top 25, getting stage points there in stage 1, Roberta Crown Jr. will lock himself up officially a playoff position. And also, the 42 Bobby Frazier ended up finishing, I think it was 3rd in that first stage. So good job with the pressure coming into this race, 25th in points, to kind of build a bit of a cushion between yourselves and that cut line.
Now look at Madden's going to go to the outside, going to get up in front of Poti. She's going to lead the lap, but it's going to leave the inside open. But as we've seen, at least from the time being, the outside lane gets a heck of a run.
Talked about Brock laying back. I think he laid back too much. He's still losing this group with them 3 wide, 7 rows deep. Charles Sanford is trying to stay latched onto that draft there in the 99.
Well, with them going 3 wide, they obviously can't be getting too far away.
Well, no, that's true, but I just think that the 47 is too far back to get a tow from anybody, regardless of if they're single file or 3 wide.
Christina Bell now going to try for the lead, and look who's right behind her. That's Matthew Rodriguez and the Daytona 500 winner, Anthony McCurry.
Anthony McCurry, of course, winning at Daytona. Matthew Rodriguez, if I recall correctly, won a stage back at Talladega. So 2 drivers that definitely know how to get it done at the super speedways. Rodriguez coming into this race 14th in points, so he's a driver that could certainly absolutely lock himself up a playoff spot with a victory tonight.
I feel like, by the way, so just so we don't forget this time, this is the last lap of stage number 2.
Lap, so
and
they'll probably go 4 wide here again to remind us.
And by the way, look, William Brock right back up into it.
I don't know how he got that toe, but he did.
Because everyone's 3 wide, that's why.
Well, I know that, but I mean, even when they were 3 wide, it looked like he was still losing ground. So
Here comes our pole sitter back on the inside there.
hey, he's going to be locked into the playoffs already. Get yourself a playoff point here if you get the stage win.
Coming to the green checkered flag, it's going to be Anthony McCurry controlling the draft. McCurry wins stage number 2. And that should be everyone updated. Yep, right there.
With another finish inside the top 10 in stage 2.
Absolutely. Now, while this incredibly intense battle continues on, we're going to step aside, take another commercial break, and be right back with more action here at Daytona.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
We're back here at the Daytona International Speedways. We're coming up to the final 11 laps here in the Coke Zero Sugar 400, and it's going to be Daniel Voiles who has just taken the race lead. Matthew Rodriguez behind him, and here comes Dylan Young to his inside, and here comes last week's winner at Phoenix, Nathan Ormond.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. The former winners, former multi-time winners this season, William Brock, Cody Lamas, and Jonathan Zorlin, none of them won in back-to-back weeks, so Nathan Ormond could be the first one to do that here.
He's got Charles Buxton right behind him, and then you've got Jessica Shelton behind him on the inside road there. You got the middle lane, Dylan Young, Bobby Frazier, Sema Oskin in the top lane with Voiles, Rodriguez, and Colin.
So we were talking about this during the commercial break. As things stand right now, it looks like 2 drivers could be in line to point their way into the playoffs. Ali Rain currently trapped 1 lap down. William Brock didn't get any points in either of the stages, and he's kind of running at the, well, now he's mid-pack. He's on that inside line moving forward, but being 17 points out, he really needed to get a couple of stage points in either one of the 2 stages, if not both. Honestly, I believe that unless we have another different winner inside the top 25 go to victory lane here tonight, 2 drivers will be able to point their way in. And right now, those spots are still firmly held by Cole Baker and Madeline Crenshaw.
Speaking of Cole Baker, there he is, second car on the inside row there. Madeline Crenshaw stuck on the outside lane, falling back. But like we see at most plate tracks, Seth, it doesn't really matter how you run during, as long as you stay out of trouble, because you can find yourself to the front, to the back, to the front again.
Case in point, Charles Sanford, William Brock, they were, the last 2 drivers in the pack once they caught back up. And now they are, I believe, 6th and 7th on that inside line. They've cracked into the top 25, now into the top 20. And in the next 2 or 3 laps, we might see them up here inside the top 5.
I'm going to watch that outside lane here. You can see Voiles going to run the 62, going to go right on the back bumper.
Again, I brought up the question of like what the fuel window might be for these guys. My assumption is if they haven't come to pit road now, we're going to have one of 2 scenarios. Either they're good to make it on fuel, or we're going to end up having some drivers maybe running out of fuel in the closing stages of this race. So keep yourself glued to the TV sets, because this could get very interesting late in this one.
Yes, it can, as the 23 is going to lead another lap here. That's more bonus points there, too, if he can get the most laps led for the 23.
Charles Buxton there in that 15 car. Mentioned he is the third highest running driver in the point standings without a victory, but he's got just too much of a gap right now between himself, Crenshaw, and Baker to get one of those points paying playoff positions. So right now I think he's basically decided, okay, well, didn't get myself any points in the first two stages. I'm kind of in a must-win situation now.
Look at that 23 just going to run the middle lane here. He knows the outside lane gets a good run, so he's kind of just keeping the 15 pinched down there. And Jessica's not really getting to the back bumper of the 15 to help provide that push.
That could be by design. Shelton might be trying to save a little bit of fuel here. Not keeping her foot in the throttle through the tri-oval, half throttling it a little bit. That allows that gap between her and the 15, and in turn allows her to save a little bit more in the tank for later on in this race. So
she goes. There she goes now. She
didn't have much choice. Baker was kind of shoving her there through turns 1 and 2.
It's all about momentum. You know, you take the momentum. It's what Dale Earnhardt Jr. always says. If you have a run, you take it. It doesn't matter where or how. You take the momentum. Side by side, it's 3x3 everywhere except the front row.
Pretty much. And hey, don't be surprised if we end up being 3x3 with the front row included here in just a moment too.
Yep, coming around the corner here, we've got, I believe this is 6 laps to go. Yep, 6 laps to go. Voiles still trying to hold on to the race lead. Not Voiles, sorry. Orman trying to hold on to the race lead here. And Shelton and the rest of them just trying to get up here.
Trying to pick out here up at the front, with the exception of the 15, who other drivers could be that could win their way into the playoffs. And I'm seeing a lot of the former winners actually up here right now. Well, there's a 62 of Daniel Voiles, but I don't think he mathematically could get into the top 25 in points. Dylan Young, though. Dylan Young, that's an interesting one there. 28th in points. I believe he is 11 points behind the cut line. He won tonight, he might be able to accumulate enough points to get above that cut line and get a last-minute playoff spot.
That's very true. He might. As you can see, Voiles now pulls out to the sole lead here and is now going to try to control both lanes. And look at Shelton. Shelton switched up to the middle lane.
You mentioned it during our commercial break too. Daniel Voiles may be one to watch here tonight. While a win probably wouldn't put him in the playoffs, he did take a checkered flag earlier on this season at Daytona in one of the dual races.
That is very true. And look at him with the run in the corner, too. Now have a bit of a 2-car breakaway here. I'm pretty sure that at this point in the race, if a caution comes out, it will end the race under yellow.
Yeah, because we've got a half dozen drivers off the lead laps. I would add the extra lap of pacing, so I think you are absolutely correct. I'm kind of wondering at this point in time, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be positioned to be able to make sure you're going to be that first one back to the checkered flag? I mean, I'm looking at these guys up here at the front that have broken away. They're going to be sitting ducks when the pack reels them back in. Keep an eye on that inside line. That seems to be the lane that's moving the most, although they're not doing it nearly as fast as they did in the early going. You got drivers down there like Charles Sanford. There's Charlie Buxton back there. William Brocken, that 47's actually on that inside line, so don't count him out just yet. I was kind of writing him off, but let's not forget, if he were to go to victory lane for a third time here tonight, that might be enough to get him into the postseason.
Yeah, it very well might. As you can see, Jessica Shelton now has broken away from the pack, is going to try to push the 15 ahead of the 62 and maybe try to take the momentum to get up to the 23.
Really surprised how the 23 has been able to check out the way he has, right? Like 3-4 car lengths he had at one point over Charles Buxton's, but now going to start to get reeled back in. That was interesting. I don't know if it was the side drafting of double wide that allowed him to open up that gap or what, but don't see that at super speedways, and if you do, it's normally to the detriment of the driver that checked out.
15 car again. They're trying. Look at this racing back here. They know it's about to the end of the race, and the 23 is loving all this in his mirror. It's been a long time since we've had a driver go back to back in wins in the Budweiser All Pro Series, and with 2 laps to go, Nathan Orman can do just that.
And you talked about the frustration of drivers that are in that middle line with nowhere to go. This is where it starts to get to the point of them saying, "All right, enough is enough. I'm going to try and make another."
Oh, here we go.
Attempt 4 wide.
Charles Buxton to the inside, and nobody went with the 23.
Well, they know he's already locked into the playoffs. They're saying, hey, we want our shot at getting into the postseason as well. The 62 and the 15 both have not been to victory lane. And look at the run by the 16 of Roberto Crown Jr.
Now Charles Buxton is going to be the one that needs to control the draft. And we're coming to the white flag here, and Charles Buxton's son, Charlie, is not too far behind.
Charles Sanford in that 99 got a nice run through the tri-oval.
White flag, 1 lap to go. Look at the 16 on the inside. Is there going to be enough drafting help?
Shelton's got the middle line being led. Sanford on the bottom. Where does Roberto Crown Jr. elect to go? Well, he blocked the inside, went to the middle, leaves the door open. Here comes Sanford in the 99.
Seth, we talked about it, ramping up down the back straightaway. It's the last lap. The 15 trying to... The 15 is trying to get a run here, but I don't think he can do it. The 16 is going to be on the inside.
Boy, that middle and top side, they were lined up so well. You can see the inside line lost a ton of ground down the back straightaway.
Roberto Crown Jr. takes sole possession of the lead, and just like he did at Talladega, Roberto Crown Jr. will win at Daytona.
Another multi-time winner heading into the playoffs, joining Zorlin and Cody Lamas. Jury is still out on William Brock, whether he's going to be advancing or not. I think he ended up crossing the line in somewhere between 10th to 12th, something like that. I don't know if that's going to be enough or not.
In a last lap pass, Roberto Crown Jr. wins at Daytona. I mean, he did the same thing at Talladega earlier this season. He somehow managed to take the victory there, as we're going to take a look at our official race results here. The 47 was 12th.
Thing that I'm looking at right now is where were the other drivers around him in points? Where did they finish? Dylan Young was 20th. Trent Dunham finished only one position behind him in 13th. Cole Deaver, I know, finished off the lead lap, so might be able to make up some ground on him. We're at the 11th. Smith Oscon finish 11th for him. So I don't think he'll gain on that driver. I don't think he'll gain on Stephen Colon.
Madeline Crenshaw, though, drops all the way to 31st, and honestly, that might have just knocked her out of that second spot.
Well, the driver she would have had to have worried about would have been Charles Buxton.
And he finished third.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Madeline Crenshaw got points back in stage 1. Buxton didn't get any stage points. Those two were gapped by like 33 points. I don't think Crenshaw lost it.
She might just barely, because she had, I think, 5 bonus points from the first stage.
And I might be wrong, Michael, but I think that there might be about 5 points difference of William Brock just missing out. I think if my calculations are right, he's 26th in final regular season points.
Well, we're going to have to more than likely figure that out. It'll be posted at the end of the race here, but a big congratulations to Roberto Crown Jr. manages to take his car to victory lane here. Jessica Shelton finishes a close second. Charles Buxton third. Voiles, Laura Chung, and Charles Sanford, Jonathan Zorline, Nathan Orman, Charlie Buxton, and Cody Lamas round out the top 10. That's typical Cody. Starts at the back, stays in the back, and then tries to work his way up to the front at the end of the race.
Notice a couple of names down here. Madeline Crenshaw, Dylan Poteet, way down in the running order. Cole Baker finishing 17th. I believe the 43. He didn't win a race this season, but I think he's going to be your regular season champ. He was 9 points behind. Well, hold on. Hold the phone. I might be wrong in that because I didn't factor in the stage points, and Poteet did get stage points in both of our 2 stages, so... Ooh, I don't know. It may be super close between those two now.
Yep, and we're going to have to wait and find out once the point standings are official and they're shown at the end of the season, end of the race. And because not only that, but we'll have the playoff grid also as they run heading into Darlington. So this is going to be very interesting. Seth, thank you so much for joining me up here, man. It's been fun, and now it's time to go playoff racing.
I mean, we've got now 16 drivers that are going to be able to battle for the championship in those elimination rounds. We've got some veterans. We've got a couple of rookies intersprinkled in there. So it's going to be fun to see at the upcoming challenging tracks who's going to rise to the occasion and by the end of the season be hoisting the championship trophy.
Absolutely. My name is Michael Norman, the voice of the Budweiser All Pro Series, if I can speak, gosh darn it. And
Couldn't speak at the beginning, can't speak at the end.
nope, the official voice of the Budweiser All Pro Series for Seth Cole and myself will say, I'll see you in Darlington until we meet again.
We're commentators, so we don't need to speak.